Hello students, welcome to Dr. Savita GOEL'S English classes. Today I'll explain a poem entitled To Autumn, written by a great romantic poet, John Keats. Keats was born in 1795 in North London. He had a terrible childhood, lost his parents when he was very young. He was trained to be a surgeon, but he realized that surgery was not his cup of tea and that he was born to be a poet. So he left surgery and entered into the realm of literature. His first collection of poems was published in 1817 and last one in 1820. He died in 1821 at a very young age of 25 years. In spite of this, he left a profound impact on English literature. To Autumn is an ode. It was first published in 1819. It is the last major work that Keats completed before his death in Rome. In this poem, Keats celebrates the beauty and grandeur of autumn. He glorifies autumn, eulogizes it by describing its abundance, and uses intense sensuous imagery to elevate its beauty. There are 3 stanzas in the poem, each consisting of 11 lines. The first stanza gives a flamboyant picture of autumn and vividly describes the bounty of this season. The second stanza is about the different works done or the occupations of the season of autumn. And the third stanza is associated with the lovely songs and scenes in an autumn evening. Now I'll explain the first stanza of the poem. The opening line of the poem is seasons of mist and mellow fruitfulness. That is, autumn is a season in which there is a lot of mist in the air and fruits become ripe. This epitomizes the character of autumn. It is an extremely productive season, a season of ripeness and maturity. Yet its mists herald the coming cold and the damp of the year's ending. In this stanza, the poet further says that autumn is a close, intimate friend of sun, and both of them work together to bring about the ripening of fruits. The creepers of grapes, which grow on the projecting edges of the straw-covered roofs of the cottages, are filled with ripe grapes during this season. Also, the apple trees which grow in the cottages are covered with moss. These trees are blessed with ripe apples. As a result, the branches bend down with the heavy weight of apples. Even the tough central part of all the fruits is filled with ripeness. All the vegetables, including gourd, increase in size. The hazelnuts are filled with sweet edible part or kernel. Myriad flowers blossom during the autumn season. When the bees perceive these sweet, fragrant flowers, they think that the summer season has extended. The seemingly endless blooming of the flowers gives them the feeling that summer will go on eternally. They continue to suck nectar from these flowers and continue to produce more honey, although the sticky cells of their honeycombs are overflowing with honey. This first stanza is replete with images suggesting fullness and abundance with words such as load, swell, plump, overbrimmed, clammy cells. Here, autumn is like a beneficent deity providing earth with bounties. Now, let's move on to the second stanza. In the first line of this stanza, the poet interrogates that who hasn't noticed the autumn in the midst of its bounty, and he himself answers this question. He says, everyone feels the presence of autumn when one visits fields in the midst of abundant crops, which is harvested during this season. In this stanza, the poet says that the crop is reaped, it is tied into bundles and collected. The grains are separated from the chaff or husk, and apple juice is extracted from the apples. Instead of saying this directly, Keats describes all these activities in a beautiful manner. Autumn is personified as a charming woman in the field, busy in these four activities. First, winnowing, that is, separating the husk from the grain. Second, reaping, that is, cutting the crop. Third, gleaning, that is, collecting the crop which has been reaped. And fourth, cider pressing, that is, extracting the juice from the apples in a cider press. Now let's see how these four personas are described. Autumn is seen as a winnower, a woman who is sitting in a carefree manner on the floor on which a lot of grain is lying, and as she separates the husk from the grain, the locks of her beautiful hair move with the wind which blows intensely. Next, autumn is personified as a woman cutting the crop in the field. Just close to this, a lot of poppy flowers bloom. Students, I'm sure you know that opium is produced from poppy flowers and opium makes a person very sleepy. The reaper feels drowsy with the smell of poppies and she's almost asleep. As a result, the crop which grows in the furrow is left half reaped and the next row of corn is left uncut. The third persona is that of a woman, a gleaner with a bundle of grains and the ears of corn on her head, who tries to balance her step as she crosses a stream. The fourth persona is that of a cider presser. This lady sits beside a cider press, extracts juice from apples, and with immense patience watches the last drops of apple juice trickling from the cider press. Now I'll explain the third stanza of the poem, which initiates with a question. Quote, "Where are the songs of spring?" Unquote. But this question is immediately dismissed. Generally, spring season is associated with pleasant, chirpy songs. But autumn has its own song. It has its own music, although its music is of a different kind. This music can be heard during the evening time. In the evening, when sun goes below the horizon and western clouds are flashed with the rosy colored streaks of light, one can perceive this rosy color on the stubble plains. Stubble plains means the fields from which the crop has been cut. The poet says that at this hour of evening, one can hear the wailful, sad, or wistful collective singing of gnats. Gnats are a species of insects. These insects live near the sallows or the aquatic plants. The gnats are carried upwards when the wind blows with great intensity and are brought downwards when it blows lightly. Also, during the evening time in the autumn season, one can hear the loud bleating of the lambs, who after grazing in verdure hills are now descending down the hills. Other sounds that can be heard are the songs of the hedge crickets, that is grasshoppers, and the melodious song of a bird, redbreast, singing at the highest pitch. But it is very soothing and pleasant to one's ears. During the time of the evening, the enchanting collective twittering sounds of the swallows soaring high in the skies can also be heard. This poem, To Autumn, has the following rhyme scheme: A B, A B, C D, E D, C C E. It is an ode written in iambic pentameter. Keats' poem, To Ode, amply portrays that Keats was a great lover of nature. He was a sensuous poet. He loved nature because of its sensuous appeal. Its appeal to the senses, the sense of sight, the sense of hearing, the sense of smell, the sense of touch. The imagery in this poem is eye-catching. It seems that he draws live pictures and readers can vividly visualize everything as they read the poem. This poem depicts Keats's profound but minute observations of the alluring sights and sounds of nature.